The BMW iX has been around since 2021, so it is time for a refresh, and that is exactly what BMW has done here. Now, previously, when we talked about the iX, I haven't been very kind when it comes to this design. But this is one of these refreshes, these small facelifts that just you make small tweaks, tiny little angles, changes in the front and the rear, and it turns into a completely different car. Maybe not a completely different car, but it definitely looks a whole lot better than the original iX. We're going to have a look at this, compare the old to the new in Photoshop in just a minute, the fun stuff. But before we get into that, let's have a look at what this is all about, because underneath the metal, there's also a lot of new stuff going on here. So 2026 BMW iX facelift introduces cheaper base model, improved range. From this article from Car Scoop's, going to link it down below. The newly refreshed BMW iX is more evolutionary than revolutionary, but lowers the entry price by $13,000. The 2026 iX features a more efficient and powerful lineup, including, as I said, a cheaper entry-level model. The facelift focuses on subtle tweaks to the exterior of the EV, and these subtle tweaks, they're not subtle to me, because to me it just changes up the front end. This looks 100 times better than the old one. So BMW's EVs has been showing promise lately, with sales on the rise and plans for its fully electric lineup to make up more than half of the sales by 2030. And the reason why BMW is selling so well when it comes to EVs in comparison to other brands is because they do have the BMW i4 M50, the best driver's EV on sale right now. I mean, I've said so many times before that all EVs feel like they're the same car when it comes to the driving experience. And then I had the i4 M50 for a week, about maybe almost a year ago now, and that was a blast to drive. I was surprised to see how BMW has managed to make an EV feel like a proper M car. And that is also why I think the new M3, they say it's going to be electric, part of it, also internal combustion engine version. But I think BMW is going to make something crazy with the next M3 EV. I think it's going to be a very, very cool car. So the power is up over the outgoing model, as is the range. The models previously known as the xDrive 50 and M60 has been bumped up because of this increase in range and power to become the xDrive 60 and the M70. So the xDrive 60 gets 536 horsepower, which is up from 516, and the M70 gets 650 horsepower, 40 horsepower more than the M60. And 0 to 60 for the xDrive 60 takes about 4.4 seconds, and the M70 goes from 0 to 60 in about 3.6 seconds, top speed 155 miles per hour. The new xDrive 60 gets a 340 mile range, not bad at all, increase about 30 miles. The M70 sees a similar bump, 302 miles of range there, which is up from 285 for the old M60. And then we have this base model, the xDrive 45, which is coming to the US, offering 402 horsepower and a 312 mile range, and still 0 to 60 in a very respectable 4.9 seconds. Now, they didn't ditch the all-wheel drive to create this base model. Instead, reduced the power for the rear motor and sacrificed a bit of charging speed. But this will be almost $13,000 cheaper than the xDrive 60. So that could be an option for people who don't want to spend a lot of money but still want to have an iX. I'm not sure if you can get the base one with the M Sport package, because that is a requirement. The non-M Sport package basically looks like the old iX, so you gotta get that with the 2026 iX. Now, the changes here, you can now get the grille being illuminated, which is typical BMW and sort of a trend these days from a lot of brands. Regular models now sport a grille with an internal diagonal treatment similar to the recent BMW X3, and the M70 adopts a pattern reminiscent of the M3 and M4. Now the M70, you can get that with the Shadow Line package, which is also something that I would 100% go with, just to black out everything. And also, it can also be optioned with the M Sport and M Sport Professional packages. With the M70 gets an exclusive to itself is a unique grille, black mirror caps, and exclusive alloy wheels. And these wheels, Again, just these small changes that we have in the graphics in the front and the rear, but also the wheel design. Look at the old wheels and compare them to the new ones. These look so much better, and it also goes to show just how important it is to have the right wheels on your car. Now, the most significant change inside the iX for 2026 is the addition of the new M multi-function seats, and the seats gets pronounced contouring and improved lateral support with a range of different adjustments. So there is a new, more efficient heat pump as well that allows waste heat from the drivetrain battery and so on to just blow into the cabin and just heat up the car quicker. And there's also a new climate comfort package which includes heated seats for the front and rear, a heated steering wheel, and also a heated armrest, similar to what we have on Genesis, which I love about Genesis. The heated armrest when you turn on the heated steering wheel is just fantastic. So the M70 retains the same starting price at $111,500, but again, you can get the base model xDrive 45 for just $75,100. I'm not sure if I should say just before that number. Is still a very, very expensive car. Look at this thing. What they did here. Let's jump into Photoshop and just talk more about this design. Just a quick heads up before we jump into Photoshop. If you're interested in learning design sketching with me, my 11-hour online class is now only $47, and you'll learn everything from what basic tools to use, ideation sketching, rendering, car design sketching, industrial design sketching, and much more. I'm also going to go over my 2 design portfolios page by page to show you what a portfolio looks like that got me into a master's in automotive design in Italy. Check it out at analogdesignerpropack.com, linked down below. So here it is. Here we have the old BMW iX, which I was not a fan of in any shape or form, and here we have the new one. The changes in the front end. This thing right here, I never understood what is going on with this graphic piece here, the black plastic, and then you have this creases inside of it as well, in addition to a very complex grille design and 2 small little LEDs up top here in a very interesting fashion. Now, looking at the new one, what they did here, look first of all at the intake in the lower section, which now feels a lot more aggressive and definitely looks a lot similar to what we have on the new BMW M5, for example. Very similar style here. And the grille pattern, even though they are diagonal like this, I still prefer the grille pattern that we have on the new one compared to this that we have on the old one right here. This just looks too messy. The front end in general just looks way too messy for me. You have a different intake here as well, much smaller than the one we have here. This also has sort of creates this lower lip, which makes it a lot more sporty looking. In addition to that, you also have these. Now, this is, I do believe, the M Sport package, and that is why you want to get this. Otherwise, you're going to get the same styling that you have here for the new 2026. But this intake on the side here, I mean, doesn't this look a lot better than this that we have right here? Because here we have one chamfer line going underneath the headlights that has no connection to this graphic piece. Another angle here, 3rd angle, 4th angle, 5th, 6th angle. There's just angles all over this place. Well, in this case, we do have the chamfer now being removed underneath the headlights, but instead, I wish this sort of sat a little lower than this, maybe started somewhere here and still had this be sort of the regular bumper up top here, but it's still a massive improvement, of course, over the previous pre-facelift iX that we have on the left side. And also you can see the headlights have been changed as well, so now we have these 2 rips of LEDs, or claw lines in the front end, similar to what we have on the new 4 Series as well. Now, looking at the side view, not a lot of changes to the side view. Of course, the big change here is going to be the black plastic. Again, we had a lot of interesting plastic in the lower section right here, just cutting through the entire body and then up in a corner in the rear end, which we're going to have a look at in a minute. And the wheel also doesn't look the best. These are not the best BMW wheels I've ever seen in my life. The new wheels, though, I do believe this one right here is the M70. You can see that this is now completely body colored all across, from the entire front end, all through the side view and into the rear. We don't have this weird plastic piece in the lower section, and this looks so much sportier and so much better than the old iX. And you can see the wheel sizes here. I do believe that these are actually the 23-inch wheels that we have going on here. And overall, I think it's just a fantastic facelift for BMW. Same goes for the rear end. We did have these features in the previous iX. Again, I don't understand how BMW designers, how they came up with these shapes for the plastic in the lower section. It just looks way too messy, but same thing here. They just cleaned everything up, and we don't have this black piece now being connected to the rear fender like this into the wheel well. Instead, it's all beautiful and all body coloring. This sort of gives me hope that BMW is maybe changing their direction now and removing all of these funky, artsy, black plastic and angles that we have going on pretty much every single model. Maybe they're dialing that down a little bit now, because this is what I want to see. This is sort of exactly the facelift that I would like to see for the BMW iX, even though the proportions still look a little strange to me, specifically with these creases that we have in the bodywork going around the wheel arches like this, squared off, and then you have a round wheel arch underneath that. It clashes a lot, but again, a lot better treatment overall for the graphics than what we had for the pre-facelift. Now, looking at the interior, these are changes that I also like, and that is very surprising for me to say about a new BMW. Look at the steering wheel. We're going back to round steering wheels. Traditional looking, bulky, beefy BMW steering wheels, and not these strange squared off angles. We have similar, idea to what we have on the weird angles that we have on the exterior. That happened in the interior as well. Even though this is a very simplistic looking interior, it still feels better than the pre-facelift, specifically when you look at the steering wheel. This is the type of BMW steering wheel that I want to see in brand new BMWs. You still have the iDrive 8.5 here, meaning that everything climate related is located right here inside of the infotainment screen, but that's just what we get these days with BMW. The seats look great. I like this empty surface that we have in front of the passenger. Not so sure. It could have been a little bit more interesting of an interior to sit in, with a lot more small details for over $100,000 that you're paying for the M70. Just have a minimalistic interior like this. Maybe some like it. Personally, as you know, I would like to go back to the BMW iDrive 7.5. But overall, the refresh here, I think this might be a hint that BMW might be going back to their more traditional and less artistic or weird looking styling that we're seeing the past, I would say, 5 years or so from BMW.